So now we're to factor this polynomial here, and the first step is to factor out any coefficients that we can. So we're looking at 6, 9, and 27, and we can factor out a 3. Right, 3 is a common factor of all. So if I factor out the 3, I get 2x squared plus 3x minus 9. And so now we're going to ignore that 3 and look at the polynomial inside the parentheses, and we need to factor that one. So we're going to use our x diamond method, right? But this first term has a coefficient of 2, which is not a 1, so we need to make a small adjustment. Up at the top, it's still going to be a times c. So a is 2 and c is negative 9. It's going to be a times c is negative 18. And then we're still going to put our b down at the bottom, so it's going to be a 3. But now, since we have a coefficient in front of our x squared, we're going to put 2x on the left side, and we're going to put 2x on the right side. And now we need to figure out what are the denominators of these fractions. Okay, so from here everything's the same. We need to get two numbers that multiply to negative 18 and add to 3. So since it multiplies to a negative number, one number is going to be negative and the other one is going to be positive. So if we think about it, 18, we have 6 times 3 is 18. And they add up to 3. So the 6 is going to be the positive, and the 3 is going to be the negative number, right? So negative 3 times positive 6 is negative 18, and 6 plus negative 3 is 3. All right. So now that we're here, we need to reduce our fractions. So 2 and 3 is reduced, simplified. We no longer need to worry about that. This one here we can simplify. And so our greatest common factor is 2, so we're going to divide the numerator by 2, giving us x, and the denominator by 2, giving us 3. So now we have our two ratios, right? So one last step is we're now going to write down our answer. It's going to be 2x minus 3 as our first factor, and it's going to be x plus 3 as our second factor. Oh, and we don't want to forget that 3 that we factored out as our first step. So let's put a 3 there. So this is our final answer here, right? And I guess I could put a box around it. And over here it's going to be 3 times 2x minus 3, x plus 3. And then if you really wanted to double check, we can go ahead and distribute out, and you will see that we would get this answer here. So why don't we go ahead and move on to the next one. You could see here that our first step of factoring out a coefficient is not possible because 3 only has a factor of 1 and 3, and 3 does not go into 10. So we leave it the way it is, and we just jump straight to our diamond method. So we have a times c goes in the top section, so 3 times 3 is going to be 9. And our b is 10, goes here. We have a coefficient in front of the x squared that's not 1, so we need to do 3x on left side and 3x on the right side. Now we need to get two numbers that multiply to 9, add up to 10. Right? You think about it, we got 3 times 3, that doesn't add up to 10. We have 1 times 9, and that does add up to 10. So 1 and 9, right? So we could double check. 1 times 9 is 9, and 1 plus 9 is 10. So everything looks good. Now we are going to simplify our fractions. So this side we don't need to simplify. Everything is fine. On this one we can simplify. We have a greatest common factor of 3. So this is going to equal to x over 3. Right? Because 3 divided by 3 is 1x, and then 9 divided by 3 is 3. So we can go ahead and write our answer now. It is going to be 3x plus 1 as our first factor, and then it's going to be x plus 3 as our second factor. And I can put a box around that and write it over here as my answer, 3x plus 1, x plus 3. And then, of course, if you were doing a test, you would double check it to see if it does actually multiply out to this trinomial out here.